All right, we're going to go through opening and closing duties here real quick. I think that the thing I want to stress with this is you just got to follow the sheet on it. I mean, it literally goes from 1 through 8 on there, and just being disciplined enough to follow through that process with it so you don't have to think about it again on there. Basically, when you come in, get the rooms open. Any rooms that are going to be used that day, get the lights on with them, any equipment up and going, whether it's x-ray units or whatever it is. Number 2, get the phones unforwarded. We just don't want those rolling back over to a cell phone over at somewhere else because we're not paying attention to it. So get them unforwarded so that way that phone's ringing right when you get there at that point. Get the iPads up on the wall, make sure they're charged and ready to go. Number 4, check bathroom supplies, check garbages, make sure that any like paper towels that are out, toilet paper that's out, fill it at that point. If somebody has to reach down inside the paper towel thing, it's too far. They'll be able to see them up above there. If we're missing paper towels underneath the bathroom thing because we used them the day before, we need to restock them at that point. Don't let things get empty before we go back and look at them. And that's the whole trick with being consistent with these things. Next, kind of get into patient-related stuff. All those special visits for that day, we need to check to make sure the files are ready to go. The night before they're checked, we're going to check them again in the morning. We just make sure that every color that's on that sheet or on the schedule for that day has a file associated with it and it's ready to go. So that way when somebody shows up, boom, we're ready at that point in time. We're waiting to get those things done at the last minute on there. So check all those things. Visits 1 through 3, re-exams are all on there. Next, go through any messages in the lead system or that other patients have texted in or voicemails or anything else that might be on there. Any messages at all or leads that came in, we answer them right away on there. We want to be as close to 7 o'clock as when we do that, just because that's when we start. That's when they expect things back at that point. And again, audit the schedule at that point. Anything that's goofy in there, look through there. Are there people that don't always show up? Send them another message on there. Are there new people that are in there that maybe didn't, that added overnight through the website or something like that? Send them a message. Call them at that point. Make sure that they're confirmed on there. Anything that seems a little shaky or a little bit off, call them, message them. Our job is to help people show up. So we got to make their lives easier. Even if they're not taking full responsibility for themselves, we're helping them take responsibility for themselves to get them in the office at that point. And then lastly, there's check through that end of the day report from the night before. Once that shift gets started and you got a little bit of time, check through that report. Again, are all visits accounted for, paid for on there? Does the cash balance out, the checks balance out? All those different things that are on there that should be done the night before, we're going to double check them on there. It takes 5 minutes to do it. It's worth the time to do it so we're not missing payments from people. We're not going over on visits for people. We got to note these things to make sure everybody's on track. And as people come in, again, we're auditing people as they come in, then we're going to go back through and, again, make sure they got notifications put in there and all that kind of stuff that's on there. So, again, rooms open, phones unforwarded, check the bathroom garbages on there. All those special visits, 1 through 3, re-exams. We got all the visit stuff pulled for them. They're ready to go. Check all the messages and the leads in the system. Audit the schedule. Make sure there's nothing goofy in there. If there's anything, the people that don't show up, call them, message them, make sure they're on there, and then check the end of the day report on there. That's the opening stuff. Evening stuff on there, really pretty simple on there. Reminder calls for all visits 1 through 3 on there. We want visits 1 through 3 showing up, so call them on there. Pull all the files for those people on there. Make sure they got re-exam forms in there. Make sure they got all the information. If it's a third visit, the plan's done. The financials are in there. The insurance is done on there. We can't find this stuff at the end. We need to find it on the ahead of time so that we can handle it then and there. Shut down the rooms, check the supplies, check the garbage. Is there face paper underneath things? Are the garbage is cleaned out at that point? Is there anything that needs to be restocked in that room? Next thing, number 4 on the list for closing, account for all missed appointments. If there's missed appointment people still on there, if they haven't contacted us at that point, it's real simple. Shoot them a message and say, hey, you know what? We've moved you to Wednesday, same time. If that does not work, please get a hold of us. Move them over there. Make sure they're read. That way we know they've been moved but haven't been confirmed yet at that point in time. Put at the end of the day transaction report just to make sure that, again, we print it out. Visits are all accounted for. Visits are all paid. They're either paying at the time of visit. They're on a plan. 2 options there. Or they got a promo with it. But that still needs to be on there. And beyond that, then it comes down to Total cash taken in that day should match what goes into the cash drawer. Balance the cash drawer daily. Checks that received, checks all match up on there as well too. Charges, check, cross-check, Open Edge, and the total from ChiroTouch. Those two numbers should match at that point. Somebody else will take care of the individual doctors and how those go hand in hand. But the clinic total in the Open Edge and ChiroTouch should match up on there. It should be exact same on there. If not, we need to note it and find it then. And we may not get that done to the next day. And then lastly, check the leads one more time. Check all forms of leads, the Google stuff, the Facebook stuff on there. If there's anything that came in, send a message back at that point. We just, again, want to make sure that's the last thing we do. That way, if someone did send something in, we've contacted them, we've dealt with it at that point that's on there. So again, I'll get the list printed, work through this every single day, just go through the process on it. We open at 6:45, we start there. This should take 10 minutes to get the initial stuff. We close at 6 o'clock. We should be out the door 6:15 to 6:30 at the latest on there with that. We need to start the process even before we close. When those last patients come in at 5:50, we're starting to work through the list at that point. So it shouldn't take very long from there. So we'll go through this a little bit more, but that's just a place to start.